Hello students, in this video you are going to study about attribute closure. This is the fourth video in the video series for the normalization. If you have not seen the previous videos, please do watch them because contents of those videos are needed for you to understand this video. So why do we need attribute closure? We need attribute closure to find the super keys and the candidate keys. So let's take an example and try to understand more about attribute closure. So consider a relation R having the attributes A, B, C, D, and E. Also, the functional dependencies present in the relation are given. So it's given that A determines B, B determines C, C determines D, and D determines E. Using these functional dependencies, let's find out whether the attribute A can determine how many other attributes. Okay, so let's start. So since it's given that A determines B and B determines C, okay, it's already given in the functional dependencies that A determines B and B determines C. Can we say that A determines C? Yes, that is the transitivity rule. So given that A determines B and B determines C, we can say that A determines C. Similarly, can we say that A determines A? Yes, using the reflexivity rule. Can we now say that A determines D? It's given that, okay, A determines C, or we have proven that A determines C, and it is given that there's a functional dependency where determines D. Therefore, we can claim that A determines D using the transitivity rule. So here we have already determined that A determines C and it's given that C determines D. So using that, we can say that A determines D. Can we say that A determines E? Yes, we have just proven that A determines D and it's given that D determines C. Okay, so using that fact and using the transitivity rule, we can say that A determines E. Now you can see here on the left hand side of this here, there is A. Okay, A determines B, A determines C, A determines A determines D, and A determines E. So therefore, can we say that A determines A, B, C, D, and E? Yes, using the union rule. Okay, so using the union rule. So students, you need to study Armstrong axiom inference rules properly in order to understand what is going on in this video. Okay, so if you have not watched, please do watch that video and then watch this video. So continuing. So we have already proven that the attribute A determines all the other attributes in the given relation R. So it determines A, B, C, D, and E. All the other attributes in the given relation R. Similarly, if you want, you can find that B determines B, C, D, E, C determines C, D, E, D determines D, E, and E determines E. So you can try to prove this using the inference rules. So what do you mean by the attribute closure? So if you want to find the attribute closure for a attribute X, then the symbol for the attribute closure is a plus sign, okay, as shown here. So basically the attribute closure of X is a set of attributes determined by X. So therefore, if we want to find the attribute closure for A, then it is a set of attributes determined by A. So from the previous slide, we have already seen that A determines A, B, C, D, and E. Therefore, the attribute closure of A will be A, B, C, D, and E. Similarly, if you want to find the attribute closure for AD, how to find? Okay, let's see in the next slide. So consider the same relation and the functional dependencies. So using this, we are going to find the attribute closure for AD. So to start for the attribute closure of AD, you first include both these given attributes in the attribute closure set. Okay. So include AD in the attribute closure set using the reflexivity rule. Okay. So once you have done that, you see whether any of these attributes are present in the left hand side. Okay, these attributes in the attribute closure set should be present in the left hand side. Okay, please remember what I'm saying, left hand side, not anywhere in the functional dependencies. They should be present only on the left hand side of the functional dependency, left hand side. So is A present on the left hand side of the functional dependency? Yes, it is present on the left hand side of the functional dependency that is given here. So for this functional dependency, A determines B. A is present on the left hand side. Therefore, B can be also included. Okay, since it's given that A determines B, B can be included now in the attribute closure set. Okay, so your attribute closure set for AD now will have A, D, and B. So now check whether any of these attributes are present on the left hand side again of these functional dependencies. So for A, we have already checked that A determines B. Okay, A is not there anywhere else in the functional dependencies. Okay, so you take the next functional dependency. Okay, so now you can take B determines C. So check whether this functional dependency, the left hand side of this is present here. Is it present? Yes, it is present here. The left hand side is present here. So what it is given? B determines C. So therefore, since B determines C, the right hand side of this functional dependency can be included in the closure for AD. So therefore, the closure for AD will look like this. So you will get A, D, B, and C. So like that, you need to continue checking whether these attributes in the closure for AD are present in the left hand side of the functional dependencies, the given functional dependencies. Okay, so let's check. A we have already checked, B we have already checked. They are not present in any of the other remaining functional dependencies. And A determines B and B determines C has already been checked. Okay, which were containing A and B in the left hand side. Okay, A and B in the left hand side. Check for the next one. Check for D or C. So take the next functional dependency. C determines D. Okay, the left hand side is C. Is it present in the closure? Yes, it is present in the closure. Okay, so therefore the right hand side of this dependency can be included in the closure. Now since D is already present in the closure, there is no need to write it down again. Okay, so the answer of the closure does not change. We just repeat this. So you get the same answer here, A, D, B, C. Okay, so there's no change in that. Takes Take the next functional dependency, D determines C. Okay, so is the left hand side of that functional dependency, is it present in the closure? Yes, it is present in the closure. It is present here. So therefore, the right hand side of this functional dependency can be included in the closure. Okay, so the closure will become A, D, B, C, E. Are there any more functional dependencies? No. So therefore, the closure of AD will be A, D, B, C, E. Okay. In other words, you can say it is A, B, C, D, E. Okay. The same attributes as the closure of A that we had already determined previously. So the closure of AD is A, D, B, C, E. So similarly, you can find the closure for any other attributes. Okay. You can try. So same way, if you want to find a closure for attribute for the closure set for B, what will be the closure for B? So the answer for that is closure for B is B, C, D, E. Okay, how do you get that? Let's see. So first you start, okay, you want to find the closure for B. So using the reflexivity rule, you will write B. Okay. Now check whether B is occurring on the left hand side in the given functional dependency. Is it there on the left hand side? Yeah, it is on the left hand side here. So whatever is present on the right hand side, include that in the answer. So you will get C here. Okay. So now you have got a new attribute in the closure. So check whether this new attribute is present on the left hand side in the functional dependency. Is it present? Yes, it is present on the left hand side here. Since C determines D, now include D in the answer. Now you got a new attribute in the closure set to check whether that is present on the left hand side in across the entire set. Okay, across the all the functional dependency. Is it present? Yes, it is present here on the left hand side. So it is given that D determines E. So therefore include E in the answer. Okay. Now you've got a new attribute. So check across all the functional dependencies whether E is present on the left hand side. E is not present on the left hand side. Therefore, this will be the attribute closure set for B. B, C, D, and E. So that is how we get this answer B, C, D, and E. Okay. Same way, if you want to find the attribute closure for CD, what is the attribute closure for CD? So you can try this. Okay. I will give you the answer. You can try. So the attribute closure for CD will be C, D, and E. Okay. Please try this. So now we have found this attribute closures. For A, the attribute closure is A, B, C, D, E. Similarly, for AD, it is AD, B, C, E. For B, it is B, C, D, E. And for CD, it is C, D, E. So, given these attribute closures, how can you determine if any of them are super keys? If any of these given attributes are super keys. So, super key is a set of attribute whose closure contains all the attributes of a given relation. So you can check here. These are the all the attributes of a given relation R. Okay. So which of these attribute closures contain all the attributes? Okay. If any of the closures contain all the attributes, then that closure or that attribute will be known as a super key. So you can see that A contains all the attributes of the given relationship or the relation. Okay. Similarly, AD contains all the attributes of the given relation. Okay. So therefore, obviously, A and AD are super keys. B is missing the attribute A from the given relation. So this is not a super key. Similarly, CD is missing the attributes A and B from this. So therefore, this is also not a super key. So from these four, the only super keys that are present are A and AD. Okay, why? Because the closure of these two contains all the attributes of the given relation. Okay, therefore we are declaring A and AD as super keys. So now you will ask that if we are given such a relation, how to find out how many super keys will be present? So in general, if you have n attributes with one candidate key, then the total number of super keys is 2 raised to n minus 1. So therefore, for the above relation R, the total now possible super keys are 16. The total possible super keys are 16. So, continuing from the previous slide, we have seen that A and ED are super keys. So, therefore, how did we find that these are super keys? Okay, you can find any attribute is a super key by finding the closure of it. Okay, so we have found the closure of them, and the closure of the attributes contains all the attributes from the given relation R. So therefore only we are declaring them as super keys. So without finding the closure of the attributes, we cannot decide whether any given attribute or a combination of attributes is a super key. So is AB plus a super key? How will you find out? One way is to find out the closure. The second way is, since we have already found out that A is a super key, okay, so therefore any combination of A with other attributes of R will also be a super key. So since A is already a super key, okay, therefore other attribute combinations with A also will be a super key. So AB plus will be a super key, AC plus will be a super key, ABC will be a super key, ADE will be a super key. Why? Because it is having the attribute A. So A combining with the other attributes will be a super key. So you must be wondering now, if A, we are having so many combinations of A as super keys, can B, C, D or E or their combinations be a super key? Okay. So in order to find out whether this is true, you need to find the closure of B, C, D, E. Okay. Find the closure of B, C, D, E. So when you find the closure of B, C, D, E, okay, now I'm not finding it out. You need to find out using all the inference rules. Okay, so when you use the inference rules or use the functional dependencies, you will get the closure of B, C, D, E as B, C, D, E. So you can see in this closure, one attribute is missing from the relation R. The attribute A is missing. Okay, so since the closure is not containing all the attributes of the relation R, therefore BCDE is not a super key. Okay, if the entire thing BCDE is not a super key, then we can conclude that definitely the individual attributes B, C, D or E are also not super keys. So when the entire thing is not a super key, all the attributes combination, then the individual attributes also will not be super key. So therefore, the 16 super keys for the above relation will be only combinations of A. Okay, will be only combinations of A. So A, AB, okay, AC, AD, AE and so on. You can make combinations and all those will be the super keys for the relation R. So I hope you have understood how to find the super key. So to find the super key, you need to find the attribute closure. And once you find the attribute closure, if the attribute closure contains all the attributes of the relation R, then only we can claim that that attribute is a super key. Otherwise, that attribute is not a super key. Attribute or the combinations of various attributes. Let's look, after you have found out the super keys, whether the super key can be a candidate key. So we have already seen the definition of candidate key in the previous video. So please watch that video if you are not aware of what I am talking. So in the previous video, we have discussed that candidate keys are minimal super keys or whose proper subset is not a super key. So now we have already discussed that there are 16 super keys for the above relation. So therefore, how many candidate keys are present? Okay. So for a candidate key, the first condition is that the key should be a super key. So we have already discussed that there are 16 super keys. So out of these 16 super keys, how many are the candidate keys? Let's find out. Let's take this one first. Okay, A. Let's find out whether A is a candidate key. So if A is a candidate key, then its proper subset should not be a super key. Okay, let's find out that what is the proper subset of A. The proper subset of A is 5, which is an empty set and which is not a super key. So therefore, can we declare A as a candidate key? Yes, we can declare A as a candidate key. So take the next super key, AD. Can the next super key AD be a candidate key? So find out the proper subset of AD. The proper subset of AD is A or D. So if AD will be a candidate key, then both of these should not be a super key. But we have already discussed that A is a super key. Already we have said that A is a super key. So since the proper subset, at least one proper subset of this AD is a super key, therefore we will say that AD cannot be a candidate key. Okay, for AD to be a candidate key, both the subsets should have not been a super keys. But since we have already found out that A is a super key, therefore we cannot say that AD is a candidate key. Okay, so since we have found out that this is not a candidate key, okay, therefore we can conclude that all other combinations of A which are super keys will also not be super key candidate keys. Okay, so since we have already found out this that AD cannot be a candidate key, therefore all the other combinations of A which are super keys will also not be candidate keys. Therefore in this example we have only one candidate key, and that is A. So I hope you have understood this, students. You need to practice and revise this. So please practice and revise what I have just explained about attribute closure, and see how to use attribute closure to find out super keys, and then using super keys how to determine the candidate keys. We will see more examples in the next video. Thank you for listening.